Whenever I post videos on YouTube, I always welcome responses. Inevitably, there is a dialogue which takes place in the comment boxes which, as you have no doubt noticed yourselves, is simply too small to thoroughly explain oneself. As a result, it is very easy for the other person in the conversation to miss what is the context in one's mind behind what it is one is trying to say. So uh, we have to oversimplify what we're trying to say because there's not enough room to be very precise and go into a lot of details in comment boxes. And that, my dear friends, is what this video is all about. I shall further explicate what I was trying to say there in the comment box on another video. I stated in the comment box on a response video a modus tollens argument for the existence of God. If God does not exist, then we humans do not exist. But we do exist, thus God exists. That argument is formally valid, but it seems at first blush like a rather big leap to say that premise 1 is true. That is, why suppose that if God does not exist, then we do not exist either? My interlocutor was right to call me on this. The problem was that I did not have enough room in the comment box to fully flesh out why this, which is obviously true to me, should be obviously true to everyone else. The reason why I accept the reason why I accept premise 1 is because of the distinction between necessary beings on the one hand and contingent beings on the other. All beings are either contingent or not contingent, and the term necessary is synonymous with the term not contingent. What is more, there are various arguments for the existence of God which are based upon this distinction between necessary and contingent beings. Alright, so we humans are contingent beings. My favorite illustration of this fact comes from the old Back to the Future movies. Marty McFly has a photograph, and he is always in danger of disappearing from the photograph, and therefore simultaneously ceasing to exist, if various events in the past do not occur. In the first Back to the Future movie, his mother fell in love with him, Marty, which would have led to her not falling in love with Marty's dad, which in turn would have led to them, the parents of Marty McFly, not doing the hibbity-dibbity, which at long last would not have led to Marty being conceived and born. Thus he disappears from the photograph and from existence. If any link in this chain had been broken, then no Marty. Marty's existence was contingent upon all the preceding events. Marty, like all biological organisms, is contingent. God, however, is necessary. I mean, whether he exists or not, he has classically been conceived as being a necessary being. And this brings us to the Thomistic version of the cosmological argument for the existence of God. There is at least one contingent being which actually exists in the universe. Me, for example. As a contingent being, I depend on another being for my existence, say my father. He in turn depends upon another being for his existence, say my grandfather. This keeps going until we reach my first human ancestor. But we can keep going beyond my first human ancestor, for he is contingent as well, or she is contingent as well. Eventually, we come to a first contingent being. That being is dependent upon a still prior being. Otherwise, it would not be a contingent being at all. But it is the first contingent being. The being the first contingent being is dependent upon must therefore, by irresistible logic, be not contingent. So the first contingent being depends upon a necessary being, or a necessary being definitely exists. However, this necessary being which actually exists is really no different from what philosophers have traditionally meant by the term God. So God exists. That is the Thomistic cosmological argument. It tells us that we depend for our existence upon God. Since that argument, the Thomistic cosmological argument, is sound, since the argument is sound, we know further that if God does not exist, then we would not exist either. But that is just the first premise of the modus tollens from the comment box. In other words, that premise is obviously true in light of the Thomistic cosmological argument. The second premise of the modus tollens, which says that we exist, is obviously true as our everyday experience tells us. The conclusion of the modus tollens follows, inescapably, that God does exist. Of course, the modus tollens is superfluous if we first have the Thomistic argument. But again, I did not have enough space to spell out that argument in great detail, the Thomistic argument, in the comment box. There wasn't enough room there. I abbreviated it to the modus tollens, hoping the audience would fill in the gory details after having read the Summa Theologica in Latin, which you all have obviously done. So thank you for watching, and shalom to you all. Shalom out.